All right. Welcome, everyone. This webinar today is all going to be about continuing our journey as we learn more about AI, actionable AI. For those of you who attended last week's webinar, this is part two of that series. For those of you who are new, welcome to Actionable AI, focusing on how AI can help around the student experience. This webinar is put together from the folks at Enrollify and Element 451, and we will get started. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ardis Kadu. I'm the founder and CEO of Element 451. Last week, we talked a lot about making sense of AI. We talked a lot about broad use cases of AI in higher education and how everything works. Whereas today, we're going to focus specifically on the student experience and how AI can be used for that. When we understand student experience, there has a lot to do with psychology and understanding our students and understanding journey mapping and understanding how technology can facilitate and can work with that. For each one of us, it's going to hit home a little bit differently and uniquely because we see different parts of the student journey and we see different parts of the student when we talk about the experience of that student. It can be in the pre-application level all the way down to when they graduate. All right, so I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek. He's an anthropologist, great writer, great author. Start with Why. If you haven't read that book, it's a really good book. But he summarizes the expectations of our students today in something and the mindset of our students and even ourselves as well. So I figured I'll just play a video rather than me trying to explain it.
They've grown up in a world of instant gratification. You want to buy something, you go on Amazon, it arrives the next day. You want to watch a movie? Log on and watch a movie. You don't check movie times. You want to watch a TV show? Binge. You don't even have to wait week to week, right? I know people who skip seasons just so they can binge at the end of the season, right? Instant gratification. You want to go on a date? You don't even have to learn how to be like, hey. You don't even have to learn and practice that skill. You don't have to be the uncomfortable one who says yes when you mean no and says no when you mean no, but yes when you don't have to swipe right. Bang, I'm a stud.
So this makes me laugh a little bit because as the years have passed over the last few years, I'm usually the one in the room saying, oh man, this new generation now, they have everything is on demand and they're expecting things to be really fast. But it is truth, right? Our kids are growing up in a society with Alexa and Siri, and you can get anything on demand, and waiting and instant gratification is something that we're used to, and we're expecting that from our brands and from our experiences with our universities as well. So yesterday's students were very different in the sense that the campus was the unifying central place and the community where they went, where they interacted with each other, interacted with teachers. Post-pandemic, this has completely changed, right? More and more of the education is happening online. It's happening away from campuses. It's happening in different environments. And today's students are very diverse, but what unifies them is the expectations and how they're using technology and how they're expecting their experience to work together. And they're very digitally savvy and they expect very convenient, fast, and personal experiences. This is something that has been true now for a number of years, but it's even more true today when we see the acceleration and the personalization of content, the personalization of information, and the convenience of service. So frictionless experience. It's the name of the game. Really fast, frictionless experiences. We're seeing that from the consumer world day to day. How can we think about that in the same way for our students and how we're delivering education, how we're delivering that experience, which is very expensive, by the way. Higher education is very expensive in the sense that it's still a very expensive proposition. And when you think about that, Jeff Selingo is a great author and kind of thinker in higher ed that writes a lot about this, right? His best-selling book, Who Gets In and Why? A Year Inside College Admissions. He's written a lot about post-pandemic education and expectations. So he says that if students don't think a college will do enough to provide an engaging student experience and a return to their investment, they'll look somewhere else. Think about that. No longer are we bound by geographies anymore. Even schools that were community colleges, now those students that could not go anywhere else, now they can go online, and the whole world has opened up. So they can get their degree from a number of different places. So the choices have expanded. So we need to get better at providing a better experience. On top of that, we need to be able to make sure that the product that we're providing and that experience it needs to think about the ROI on that as well. There's very little that we can do from administrators in terms of the ROI component because there's so many things that go into it. However, most of the time, information and access to information and timely communications can make all the difference in someone having a very positive experience with the brand and our institutions overall. So in this case, AI can help, right? It can help in a number of different ways, and it can be a catalyst for how we interact with those students and how we engage with them. We believe that the future of those interactions and the future of that experience is going to be conversational. You are seeing it today. You're going to be seeing it in the future as well. But the conversations that we're having with our students today and how we're interacting with technology is going to be conversational. This is something that we truly believe here at Element, and we've seen over and over how this is a very important trend to think about. So chatbots and how we interact with each other in real life, that's how we're going to be communicating with technology and interacting with technology. Is not going to be through many interfaces. Those conversations will not necessarily be just text, but there'll be audio, there'll be video, they'll be multimodal. However, they'll be conversational. We're going to have a conversation with our technology, just like we're having a conversation with somebody who's sitting next to us, a companion, an assistant, a co-creator. So that is the future. And if we look at it from that future, the experience that we're providing our students changes, right? We think about it here as a staff member or somebody who's providing certain services. Now I need to start thinking, how can AI be a co-pilot next to me? Or how can AI be an assistant to that student that they can provide the same technology? Now, a lot of you are really jaded around this, right? So as we talk to a lot of folks around higher education, because we've tried to incorporate a lot of these conversational interfaces, particularly things like chatbots in the past, we're like, it doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work, right? So it's like pre-2018, we had some early chatbots and they're just clunky, right? They just don't know how to work. Like they don't understand us. They don't understand language. They didn't understand nuance. They didn't understand cues and so on and so forth. So they didn't know all those things. They were pretty dumb in that case. They tried to be smart. In this case, they tried to be empathetic, right? And I take a giggle out of this example because it comes up over and over again when I look at it. It's like it tries to be empathetic, but at the same time, it just doesn't understand. So it falls short of our expectations. And when we think about it, when we're interacting with this technology, how does that make you feel, right? Now you're interacting with it and your feelings that you have with another person, and you're saying, okay, if I'm going to be conversational with technology, it needs to understand me. It needs to fit and work the same way. So when we look at it from a psychological perspective, there's these two axes that human perception revolves around. When we talk to people and when we have a very positive conversation and a very positive interaction with someone, when we look at it, it's two axes of warmth and competence. How warm is that person and how approachable and how easy is it to talk to? And then what's the competence level, right? That competence can be, I'm talking to you because what's your intention, right? So there's always an intent between a conversation. So is that intent good, bad? And then how likely are you to actually carry that intent? When I'm talking to an assistant or a helper, I'm asking for help. So how likely are you to actually help understand me, understand my state? So in this 4 quadrants, what we see here is that If there's high level of warmth and understanding and then competence, we actually admire that person. And these feelings are projected to any human interaction that we have day to day as well. However, if there's no warmth and the competence is very low, there's this contempt that we build from technology. And that was that first bot. It didn't understand what we were asking. It didn't know what to do. So it's not very good. And then when we talk about that second bot, it tried to be a little bit more warm and personal, but we just didn't know what to do. So we feel pity for them. We want to be in that admire stage, right? We want to be in that stage where it's likable, it's honest and sincere. And for those of us who have interacted over the past year, who have tried AI, ChatGPT has really been a really transformative tool because it's been the first chatbot that we have interacted with that has both of those capabilities, right? It is warm, it understands language, nuance, it understands tone and voice, and it can answer us in very different directions. And also it can do things for us, right? It's very competent in giving us amazing haikus or amazing copy for our marketing, or go back and forth around the discussion or give us strategy because he has all this knowledge of the world. So it's the first bot now, the first wave of AI where a chatbot that we can interact with it in that way. And of course, ChatGPT is not the only one. There's Bard and Claude, and we talked a little bit about that during our last presentation. So take that and let's start thinking about how can we think about it in the context of experience for our students. Let's think about AI and those things that we understand. If we're going to take all or amend or add capabilities through AI that we feel that only us as humans can provide to our student experience by having a conversation and so on and so forth, those experiences need to be really top notch. So if we think about where AI can fit in, we have three different kind of big categories of big areas in here as we start thinking about it. Now, this is not unique to higher education. Support and product support and customer success is something that every industry deals with. Every industry, that if you're selling a service or a product or whatever, you have to deal with customers and you have to deal with supporting those customers and those interactions. So everybody's thinking about this. And AI is one of those areas where it's become really easy to see how we can elevate that. We think about 24/7 support with AI chatbots. We talk about hyper-personalized. I took away marketing in here, put communications, because we truly believe that the future is really conversational and it's about one-on-one communication rather than marketing and what we think about the push approach to how we display our value proposition, what we offer. And then the last one is the proactive outreach, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so now the meat and potatoes, so to speak, or the actionable components and how we think about AI and how we see that helping out. The first advice is just use technology and use chatbots as your first line of defense, right? When that student is trying to reach out to you in different areas, different types of the journey, use it as a first line of defense. Usually, we put a human in the loop all the time, but sometimes that is not cost effective. We don't get consistency. There's a lot of things that are wrong with us humans. We don't remember a lot of information. Yes, we can be very passionate and yes, very good at certain things, but we have a lot of faults as well. So anyways, the thing about the four areas that I've highlighted in here are, think about the admissions process. AI chatbots can streamline admissions by providing instant tailored responses to applicants' queries. It can enhance their efficiency and engagement as well. Around student support services, chatbots are there 24/7. They don't go to nap. If you have international students in different time zones, as you grow your reach, this becomes really important. You need to provide that support 24/7, and chatbots are there, very consistent, answering questions from all of these knowledge that you can provide for them. It can be things that can guide that student through campus resources, mental health services, and even administrative procedures. How do I do something? How do I access something? You don't get your help desk emails or whatever responding the next day, right? They're piled up. By that time, that student has lost context. You want it to be in the context every time. Question and answer and programs. This is a big area when we think about most of our websites, and the first destination that our students go to is like, how do we leverage chatbots around the clock for question and answers for, do you offer this program versus how do I apply for this program, or how do I get more information here? Offering those students those quick ways of exploring programs and questions around it instantly. And then the last one that I've added in here is around academic advising. So this is an area where right now, a lot of the schools that we're talking to, they're like, no, academic advising is always going to be done by a student because we have all of these different prerequisites and we need to do the auditing and all that. Machines are really good at that, right? If you put in a natural interface on top of it, and now it understands what the requirements are in the students, the AI chatbots can personalize academic advice. It can help that student with course selection, scheduling, academic planning at their convenience. They don't have to schedule an appointment for you every end of the semester. They can do it in the middle of the semester. They can do it whenever they're with their families over holiday. So these are things that are really important. The collecting of information is also available through these chatbots. So they're not just regurgitating questions and answers. They're actually collecting information, and they're connected to CRMs and tools that they're able to save that information and work with tools around that. So that's something we're going to look into as well. So here's a good use case, right? So I'm going to talk about Foresight Tech, and they have a chatbot on their website. It's available in a lot of different places, but you can ask it question around what programs do you offer in health. So it's one of those ideas that becomes really clear, and it's really fast in responding to you around the different programs that it offers. And I can go ahead and I can certainly stop it. I just wanted to highlight this because it's a first entry into their website. Like, everybody now is used to chatbots getting their answers from there. So everybody's now going into the chat is going to be the first place that they go. It used to be that the search bar on your website was the first place, but now they're actually going to the chat because they're conditioned that they can get more information, can be more conversation around chat. So having a really great chatbot on your website is really key. As we go back to Foresight, they've had some great results within the first 3 months that they implemented this. And remember, the idea here is to reduce that front line and provide a better experience. They saw a 24% decrease in inbound calling, resolution, meaning that the bot was able to answer 79% of those conversations or those inquiries that were coming in. There was about 3,600 minutes time saved. This is human time, and over 3,000 conversations within those first 3 months. Now, imagine getting all those inquiries in. It's back and forth. You have to answer multiple questions. These are not just parts of a conversation. These are whole streams or threads of conversations. So we believe that adding a chatbot, a modern smart AI chatbot, is something that you need to do. And these chatbots they're conversational, right? They should be powered by large language models that are powering a ChatGPT or even Bard. For example, the one that Foresight uses OpenAI GPT-4, which is the best model right now out there, right? Nobody has really beaten and provided a better model than GPT-4. These need to be multi-channel. Most of your inquiries can come through email as well. Students still use that, or it can come through SMS messaging. So as you send out messages out, you're expecting those two-way conversations. So it needs to be over email, SMS, chat, web, and even WhatsApp. So it has to be multi-channel. They have to hold complete conversations. If a student sends you a text message today, and they send you and you send them something and they come back and follow up, they need to be able to remember and hold complete conversations just like a human would. So that history is really important. And last but not least, they have to be multilingual. So multilinguality is something that opens up access for first generation families to provide and get this information from your site or from wherever institution. And this is really important as well, because it's not just about first generation, but it opens up access to international students and a lot of different people who can't communicate or would prefer to use one language or another. We saw yet time that now these models can actually translate my language into different languages. So they're really good at these translations. So by using these more powerful models, you're able to do that. And the multi-channel approach is very important because this multi-channel AI bots can take an inquiry, and they're really good at providing you enough information for the web. It understands how short messages should work over SMS and what's the etiquette over email, right? So all of these things are part of that. It should be part of the AI bot. It's not a chat bot. It's not just chat. It's multi-language. It's an AI bot sitting right next to your inbox, your multi-channel inbox, just like any other communication that you're handling, just like a person. Now, it actually does stuff. And a few of you have asked me questions on the chat. Does it collect information? And yes, the reason why you need this modern AI bots is because they're able to, or at least the one that Foresight uses, is able to do stuff, right? It's connecting to all of the systems, and it's not dumb, right? It's capable of collecting your information. It can actually go through a process of asking for your email, name, program, term, start in a conversational way. And now that generates an inquiry form. It's able to start applications for you because you told it, hey, I want this application, I want to apply for this program. Check application statuses. It understands that you're logged in, or it'll log you in automatically by sending you a verification, scheduling appointments, even doing things like advising you on courses. And the last, one of the other things that's really important in here is that they need to be secure and trustworthy. As technology advances, you need to make sure that they're connected to your data. They're identity-driven interactions. They're transparent, and they can see all of the history that you have. There's ability for them to hand off to a human because they're not perfect, 79%. The rest of the 21% from Foresight was handed off to a human. They're grounded in your content, right? Meaning that they're not answering questions for some other school, or answering questions or making those questions up. These large language models are really good at making stuff up. So we don't want that. Try to work with someone who understands how to ground these on your content and only answer questions around that. And last but not least, it has control. You can control availability and personality. A admissions helper bot or a general Q&A bot is going to be very different from a mental health coach, from an academic advisor one. And we're seeing that we're interacting with different bots and different personalities every single day, right? With Siri or with some others. And even companies like, for example, Facebook and so on and so forth have come up with the ability for us to interact with them. So here is a product demo that they introduced very recently around having personality for these bots.
We built some AIs you can interact with, and then partnered with awesome people to play some of them to make them even more fun. Introducing Meta's AIs, with Tom Brady as Brew, ready to throw you his deep knowledge of sports.
Seriously? How could you not know that?
Naomi Osaka as Tamika, proving it's cool to geek out.
Time for a selfie.
Chris Paul as Perry. He's preaching the gospel of golf.
Drive for show, putt for dope.
Paris Hilton is Amber. She's taking a stylish bite out of crime.
Not to brag, but I am a forensic expert.
Mr. Beast is Zach. This dude's funny.
I'm not saying I know everything.
Israel Adesanya as Louise. He'll make sure you never tap out.
The more you know, the better you can move on the map.
Kendall Jenner as Billy. She'll always have your back.
I'll keep it real, but above all, I'll keep it on the DL.
Roy Choi is Max. Nix that delivery order. You're cooking in tonight.
Chef, what's on the menu today?
Charlie D'Amelio is Coco. Making sure you and your moves aren't sus.
Hey y'all, you ready to dance?
Snoop Dogg is Dungeon Master. Slay the games you love.
Your quest begins now, player.
So I was really excited to see the merging of real world personalities into these bots, right? So now they take on the personality of that. And our belief is that you're going to need to interact with different types of bots, just like you do with different people in your life. You interact with your doctor and you're in that context of a doctor, you're interacting with the advisor, you're in the context of the advisor, you're interacting with somebody over the phone to get support for your cell phone, you are in their context. So this, just like we interact with different people and we have different personas that we interact with in our lives, we're going to do the same thing for AI. We don't really see a way for us to interact with just one of these personalities that knows everything and does everything. We just feel more comfortable from ourselves in our mental model on how can this thing, or how can this technology, it needs to take on a personality, the persona, and it becomes really confusing when it's an all-knowing thing, right? So we impute this identity on top of our technology. We call it he, she, all of those things, right? So we give it pronouns and so on and so forth. So what we've done is that we've actually building this in our AI bots as well. One of the bots that we built to showcase this was we went ahead and built the Dolly Parton Advisor bot, right? So this is the same bot as it's being used by Forsyth, but now it has the personality of Dolly Parton. And I can have a conversation with her here. Hey there. I'm not going to be able to read in her accent and even in her kind of language, but hopefully you guys can see it and take a look at it here. Howdy, what can I do for you on this fine day? So I say I need some advice on applying. And it's going to come back, sure thing. Are you looking to apply to Element University for undergrad? And you have a particular major? Let's go get on that right path. I don't know. So let's see if it actually has a personality and come back. Darling, Element U offers a whole whack-a-load of majors to choose from, whether you're interested in the arts, sciences, or here's a taste of what we offer. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but one of the things I'm going to ask is, can you write a song about nursing? So let's see if it's actually doing that for us. Oh, there we go. It's doing it. In this halls of Element U, there's Calling Strong and True, a program where the calling's heart aspires. Again, I just wanted to show you that what we're working on are things that are going to be super important around personality as well. All right. The second part, we're going to go quickly through this so we can have some question and answer, but the part around providing personalization, around hyper-personalized marketing, our approach to this is don't market, just have a conversation. Marketing is not about the pushing of content anymore. It's not about telling our story or anything like that. It's about having a conversation. You need to understand what's happening on the other side. So have a two-way conversation, engage students in genuine two-way conversations using AI. We can do that now, right? So rather than just sending a message, send a message and ask for something back. That chatbot can actually reply on your behalf, either through email or SMS or even through the chat. So ask for that follow-up. It makes us feel really good when you do conversations with somebody, when we just don't give information, but we're actually asked, how are you doing today? How can I help you? All of those things. Your students need to feel heard and valued at an individual level. Customizing content creation. So this is a really good area where harnessing AI to dynamically generate content that adapts to a student's interests and behaviors, making every interaction very unique and relevant. When you're sending communications out, because this large language models are able to, by just giving it a couple of data points, is able to change a whole paragraph for us to make it very personal based on any number of things and make it unique. Every paragraph that is written is very unique. It's one of a kind to that person. Again, let's think about how AI can replace those boilerplates, templates, and emails and make it more dynamic depending on what you know about that communication. And the last one that I have in here is around enhancing the student journey mapping. For some of us, we do that better than others, mapping a communication sequence or a journey sequence. However, AI can now map that at the individual student's level, and they personalize their unique journey. So it can trigger messages based on things that it knows about that students. It can trigger things based on preferences that they have, like open times and things like that, to make the best impact with them. So it's personalized these touch points at the right time, the right place, the right channel. So that is a real takeaway from this, is that it's a conversation. Marketing is a conversation. Customizing content goes a really long way, and we should do that. And AI can help us do that. And using AI to personalize the journey itself, time, place, and right channel on top of the content that we have on that second bullet point. So some of these bots are able to help us with some of that, right? They are able to ingest and learn from multiple data sources from you. So they're now able to be knowledgeable about everything, right? You can load up your website, you can load up your knowledge base, your internal documents, and you can personalize things when it communicates to that student. Because these bots can connect, it can bring in people data from the CRM, so it knows what that student is doing. And the marketing automation tools now are really good about understanding that and bringing that to life. It understands the conversation history, so it's personable. You come back to it. We talked about that before. It loads in and it has institutional data, right? It understands your voice, your tone, and it talks in your voice and your tone. It doesn't require training. So this idea of building custom training a machine, like this technology has gotten commoditized. And I won't say commoditized, but this large language models, think about them as reasoning engines. And then you have your content somewhere in a semantic way. And now they're just reaching out and they're saying, oh, I need to perform this task. I'm going to go out and reach to my tools and attach the context that I need there based on knowledge that I know that was added from these different systems that I'm connected to. So zero training is really important, right? You don't want to spend your time anticipating questions from your students or again, they could be asking you a different million ways on how to apply for an application in different languages. So when you look at that, these smart AI bots then understand and bring in information from prior conversations, your knowledge bases, your institutional info, their profile from CRM, and it has part of the context. And when you ask that question, when do classes start, it's able to pull that all together to give you a personalized message, just as a human would go. But a human would actually take a few minutes if they don't know what the date is, so they can go look it up in an internal database, or they can go look it up in an email thread, or they can go look it up on the website, or maybe they remember it because they had a prior conversation. But again, this is a very simple example in here, but these are the tools that are available today, so you can help out in that way. The last part that we should focus on is around proactive outreach and nudges that work. So a lot about AI is content generation, but the ability to proactively use AI to nudge students along and to proactively outreach is super important. When we have, I read a stat the other day, I didn't put it in the presentation, but only 40% of our students feel connected to campus. And this is more and more true today. Even though they're going to campus and they're living on the dorm, they don't feel connected to the rest of the community. They're always on their phones. That's their world. So they don't feel connected to a professor. They don't feel connected because they may be taking classes online. So being able to proactively outreach to them or reach to them, I won't say they're shy, but they would rather not ask a question and make us feel like a fool than actually reach out and ask that question. So we need to be proactive around it. So using AI that identifies potential issues early, enabling proactive interventions for at-risk students before challenges escalate. You can call this early success or whatever, but this is not your typical human-raised flags. Celebrating successes, right? This is an area where AI is really good at. We usually reach out to people when something is wrong. How about reaching out? They did something right. They got an A and we congratulate them. They moved from a C to a B, or they moved from a B to an A in a class or wherever. So celebrating those successes and motivating them increases the probability of them doing better and positive reinforcement. Class assignment and academic nudges, we'll see a little example of this. But that's leveraging AI to set timely nudges around this. It's really important as well. And last but not least, around case management. All right. This is a more internally focused, but in order to improve the student experience, we need to be able to understand how a problem or something is handed from person to person, from office to office. And how do we understand that? AI can aid in officially managing these cases, doing timely follow-up, summarizing information to hand it off to somebody else, right? You can come in and before you meet with that student, wouldn't you be able to know what's top of mind for that student based on the interaction that I've had with everybody in the organization? So you can say, catch me up. And that's something that it's top of mind for us as well as we're building these tools as well, right? It's like, how can you do that? And now you can take a caseload that you can handle maybe 20 or 30 students, and you can have that person handle 100 or 200 students because of all this proactive outreach, all the AI can do to make your time more valuable. So when you connect with a student for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, you're talking about real issues rather than having them catch you up on what's happened in their life over the past 30 days or past 3 months. That's wasted time, right? AI can do that really easily. One example here is Georgia State University study where they use chatbots and they use kind of proactive outreach to students in these large classes where the personal connection with the professor is not really there. So what they did is they had a control, and 60% of the students were likely, they went on to get a B or an above in that course. That was the control. When they introduced nudges, 2 to 3 nudges a week, telling people, hey, your assignment is due, or go fill in your assignment, that rose up to about 60%, 68% of getting a B or above in that course. I think it was actually more than 70, more than an increase of 10% plus when this was applied to first generation students. So those first generation students needed even more of an encouragement. The impact was even higher in there. So if we think about all these different things, we can now start thinking that, again, changing the student experience with AI, that's the largest opportunity that we have today to make a bigger impact. During our next 2 sessions, 2 focus sessions, we're going to focus on productivity and teaching and learning, and then we're going to wrap it up with AI Ready Campus. And the next part for this series is going to be on January 10th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to focus on productivity for us internally as administrators, as staff, as marketers, and how we're putting productivity at organizational productivity, right? All right, I'm going to stop here and ask for questions. Again, this is a webinar series that's put together by Enrollify, and that's where higher ed goes to grow. So we're hoping that you're enjoying our second one. So Tori asked us a question, can chatbots collect data? For example, if we don't offer a particular service, would you follow up and ask the student if that acts as a service? Yes, the answer to that is yes. Hopefully I showed you that a little bit in terms of here's the programs that we offer, here's the services, and you're able to see all of that in the background as well. Question from Matthew, as you imagine all the things that humans do that AI can do instead, will you dedicate some time talking about the things that humans can do that AI cannot do? That's a really good question. And what we see is a future where humans are really good at the high bandwidth emotional component and talking, providing that service, right? We are really good at that. I don't know if AI will get there. We just talked a lot about that during our presentation on how somebody can amplify what they're able to do and how AI can help them, both from answering emails to being the first line of defense, to summarizing information, to better handling things like academic advising, where they're able to tell them, okay, this course goes better with this one. This is a prerequisite, co-requisites. But then a human can actually have a conversation and say, based on your personality, I don't know if you really want to take this course, or that teacher might not really match well with you. So those are the things that we humans are really good at in the context of education, what we talked about here today. But we see a future where it's this, I forget where I heard the term cobots. It's the idea that these are another staff member that's helping us rather than replacing perhaps our jobs. And that's a very common misconception that we have. Right now, we just don't have enough people to do the things that we do. So we do a lot of menial work every single day, right? Higher education has the highest attrition in terms of staff members and talent in there. talking about institutional information as simple data points like address details. But what about ideological bent and ethos of an institution? How do you communicate that through a bot? That's another really good question from Matthew. It's like, how do these bots embody the personality and embody the voice and tone of that institution? Actually, we do that today. We do that really easily today because when we write and we communicate, we can tell the bot and we can encode that as part of their instructions. You're only able to talk about this topic, so you don't talk about politics. So all of those things are the guardrails that we actually behind the scenes cajole every single day to make sure that the bot is within the guardrails and it's a helpful assistant rather than talking about toxicity or talking about a lot of different things. How can we find out the data for our website? So this is, if I understand this correctly, the bot, what you're asking is, these bots are able to just go ahead, you put a URL in, they're able to go ahead, scrape your website and crawl it and ingest that information as text and as information into those systems. So that's how they're able to do that. You can dump a whole bunch of copy in there and then you will ingest that and convert it into AI-ready content. And an element, we actually can do that for the website. We can do that for text documents, for PDFs, for PowerPoint presentations, all of that stuff we can ingest in there in order to build a knowledge base from different sources that you already have. All right. Are the capabilities you describe, advising, nudging, AI personalities available in the Element now? We're working on the advising. The nudges are already there as part of our marketing automation. The personalities are actually, that's an Element bot that I showed you, that's BoltBot. And we are testing those personalities right now. So that's behind the feature flag that we're testing it internally. Same thing with the academic advising, the ability for us to load in your course catalog in there. So we're working through them, we're testing them, but they might be ready for you to use yet. So if you're interested in it, you can certainly reach out to us and say, hey, we're really interested in this use case. Maybe we can give you early access to it as well. All right. Matthew has one more question. Is there work to be done to help create new material, institutionally specific material to help train the bot we use? The answer is no. You don't need to create new content or material. The content that you already have and the material you're using today, we're able to ingest that and use it. The bots are pulling bits and pieces of information, just like a human would read a piece of text. And when you ask it a questions, it's not telling you word by word what the text said, but it's synthesizing that and it's giving you the answer. We learned this very early on in school, right? Where like we're reading larger and larger bodies of text and we encode that knowledge and we have that knowledge. And when we need it, we can always go back to the book. When a question on the test comes in, we look at the book, we scan it, and then we're able to find the answer and then write it in our own words. So that's the way that these bots work. We have those knowledge bases that we collect from you. And just when you take a test, or when you're asked a question, or when you're asked to do something, you're going through that process of finding that information first, synthesizing it, and then providing the answer in whatever format they want. Hopefully, this gave you some ideas for how you can now go back in your own institutions and think about where does AI fit into the student experience and how you should be thinking about this. If you're evaluating new technology or processes or whatever, or capabilities internally, this is how you should be thinking about it. Again, we're going to be talking about productivity during our next webinar on January 10th. This is going to be an interesting one as we talk about more tools that you can leverage internally to do that kind of work. All right. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And thank you for spending the last 55 minutes with me. Hopefully this was useful and informative to you. Till next time.